FOXSOUL's Black Report for Friday, November 11th, 11/11.
Yes.
Black Panther Day. I am Courtney Hicks.
Courtney, what's good?
You got it.
We made it into the week.
Yes,
it's Friday. It's Veterans Day. Shout out to all the veterans out there.
That's right.
I'm Brandon Hudson from Fox News Detroit, in for Nicole Corte. Look, we are honored to stand behind this desk to take you on a journey across the Black America.
That's right, bringing you our news, our views, and our voice. And we began with a sad, tragic story out of Louisiana, where we are learning new details on a Louisiana mayor running for re-election who was killed in a car crash on Election Day. Now, according to police, the accident happened around 11 a.m. Tuesday morning when a man driving a pickup truck failed to yield as he attempted to cross the intersection, slamming into the car that 84-year-old Velma D. Hendricks was a passenger in. Hendricks was taken to the hospital where she later died. The driver of the pickup was not injured and was cited for failure to yield for a stop sign and for not wearing a seatbelt. Hendricks was the incumbent mayor of Melville, Louisiana, located about 4 miles outside of Baton Rouge.
Over to Virginia, where family, friends, and neighbors mourn the death of this woman here, an 88-year-old woman who was a pillar of her community, killed during a dog attack outside her late relative's home. We're told officers responded around 6:45 Monday morning. Now, once on the scene, they found Evangeline Brooks fighting to survive. Neighbors who witnessed the attack say that Brooks was out for her usual morning walk when dogs mauled her in her late sister's driveway. Evangeline Brooks is remembered for her dedication to service as a member of First Baptist Church on Southside Richmond for 25 years. And of course, our hearts go out to her community and her family.
Absolutely. To Philadelphia now, where 3 former police officers charged with killing a young girl when they fired 25 shots at a moving car as a nearby crowd left a high school football game, pleaded guilty Thursday to reckless endangerment as a part of a plea deal. Now, the incident happened back in August of 2021. Prosecutors say the officers negligently fired at a car they wrongly believed was involved in gunfire that broke out as that game ended. 4 people were shot by police, including 8-year-old Fanta Bility that you see here. Ballistics could not determine which officer fired the shot that killed her, but a grand jury recommended that all 3 of those officers face charges. Fanta attended the game with her mother and an older sister who was also shot but survived. The Bility family will now proceed with a civil lawsuit against the officers and the police department.
So no matter how many times that we think we're past our country's horrific racial history, a story like this reminds us that we have a ways to go. In New Jersey, police are on the hunt for a woman they say hung nooses near a sign for a black congressional candidate. Now, officers say that the woman was caught on surveillance video hanging 3 stuffed dolls on a tree above a campaign sign for Tim Alexander, who is running for New Jersey's 2nd congressional district. Investigators describe the woman as white with blonde hair. The vehicle in the surveillance images appears to be a Buick. Now, Tim Alexander responded in a statement saying, quote, "I don't know if this woman will ever understand the impact of that. This person has pulled me back to an era that is long gone."
And to Georgia now, where black voters say the Walker-Warnock runoff leaves them with a burden to, quote, save the Senate again. As of Wednesday morning, Warnock had a slight lead with 49.2% of the vote compared. Since neither candidate reached a majority of the overall vote as required by law, a state law, to claim victory, the 2 will battle it out in a second runoff set for December the 6th. Now, the result could decide whether Democrats retain their hold on the 50-50 Senate, especially with 2 other Senate races in Arizona and Nevada still to be called.
So voter delay in Georgia and other states, and nationally, another delay for the millions of people hoping to get some relief from their college funds, or college loans, I should say. A federal judge in Texas calls the President Biden's student loan relief program unlawful and has blocked borrowers from applying. Now, as expected, the federal government quickly appealed the decision, which came just weeks before student loan payments are set to resume in January. The program was already on hold while a federal appeals court in St. Louis considers a separate lawsuit by 6 states challenging it. Judge Mark T. Pittman, who was appointed by former President Donald Trump, wrote that the program was a, quote, complete usurpation of congressional authority by the executive branch.
And Brandon, it looks like former President Donald Trump is losing some of his black support, his black base. Virginia's Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears says that if Donald Trump makes a third bid for the White House, she will not support him, as she now says that voters in this week's midterm elections have given the Republican Party a very clear message that it's time for a new pick. Now, despite her stance, Earl Sears went on to list areas where she thought the Trump administration was due credit, including reducing unemployment levels among black Americans and signing a bill to permanently provide funding for HBCUs.
According, here's a situation involving some local politics that got a bit heated. In Alabama, a suburb of Birmingham, a 78-year-old Tarrant City Council member is in hot water after he reportedly punched the mayor in the face. Now, according to police, the attack happened after a city council meeting on Monday. The city's first black mayor, Wayman Newton, says that Tommy Bryant sucker punched him after the two exchanged words. Now, Newton said he did not remember the words exchanged before he was attacked, but explained a statement from the Tarrant Police Department stated several witnesses saw the assault and officers at the scene arrested Bryant. The 78-year-old, who is almost 40 years older than the mayor, was charged with assault in third degree. He was released after posting a $1,000 bond. Okay, so mates, let's go to Seattle, where a man accused of threatening to shoot black customers at grocery stores in Buffalo and at businesses across other states has pleaded guilty to several charges. Joey George pleaded guilty Monday as a part of a plea deal. He admitted he made phone calls threatening to shoot black customers at grocery stores in Buffalo, restaurants in California and Connecticut, and a marijuana dispensary in Maryland. George also agreed to pay restitution to the impacted businesses, at least one of which closed because of his threats. In New York City, the suspect in Sunday's deadly subway shooting is in custody. 25-year-old Andrew Abdullah was arrested Tuesday night, hours after police asked for the public's help in the search. A 48-year-old man was killed in the shooting. Witnesses say the gunman was pacing the subway car and shot the man from close range unprovoked. A motive for the attack is still unclear. Abdullah is expected to be arraigned in the coming days. And he's called New York's Bling Bishop, who you may remember being robbed during a live stream sermon. Now he's suing a radio host for $50 million. Bishop Lamore Whitehead filed the lawsuit against Tarsha Nicole Jones, better known as Miss Jones, and her employer for tarnishing his reputation after she accused him of using church money, to hide drug money, that is. This is not the first time Whitehead has gone after those who question his high-flying lifestyle. In September, he filed a pair of separate lawsuits for $20 million against two YouTubers, claiming that their comments about him were defamatory and slanderous. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver is speaking out following his meeting with Kyrie Irving. Silver, who is Jewish, tells the New York Times that Irving is, quote, someone I've known for a decade, and I've never heard an anti-Semitic word from him or, frankly, hate directed at any group, end quote. However, Silver does say that whether Irving is anti-Semitic is not relevant to the damage that he caused by posting hateful content. The Nets suspended Irving on November 3rd, a week after his post. Irving apologized after the suspension was announced. Silver also addressed criticism directed at him for the length of time it took to suspend Kyrie. He blamed it on part of the investigation, saying that the league office had to do a bit of work and research, including Silver choosing to watch the film himself. And now a heartwarming story out of Tennessee, where over many years, a major part of Cookeville's history was almost completely hidden by overgrown bush. Now, more than 10 years of work is helping to uncover the story of hundreds of people, thanks to the work of community members. Now, in 2010, a county archivist became very interested in a cemetery that had long been neglected. The first step was to gather all the death certificates, an effort that took about 5 years, totaling 250 certificates. Then, once the overgrown bush was removed, a problem with the graves was discovered, as just about every single one had sunk an additional 3 feet. Volunteers from Tennessee Tech and Nashville State helped place dirt into those graves, and a local businessman donated money for new grave markers, giving the Cookeville Buck Cemetery a new look and restoring the legacy of loved ones laid to rest. It's good to see that our ancestors, even after they've passed, are getting their appreciation, because there are a lot of grave sites, and you drive by them in any state, in any city, and you see a lot of them are just a mess. And you feel for the families who have trusted the people who have buried their loved ones into the ground.
And for our culture in particular, you know, because our history has a tendency not to be recognized or diminished, that was a black cemetery for black residents of that town, Cookeville, Tennessee. And so for it to have been neglected so many years, it was good to see that community come together and really restore the dignity and the legacy of those who rest there.
Got to give them their flowers long after rest. I do want to get back to that story about Fantability, the young woman who was shot. I was in Philadelphia when that happened, covered that story, spoke to Fanta's family and the sister who was shot. So just to give you some more perspective here, this is a family that they immigrated to the U.S. And they live in a suburb outside of Philadelphia. They were at that football game. They, you know, Fanta was going to have a good time, and then all of a sudden you hear gunfire. And for a while, it was thought that because of Philadelphia's gun crisis, that she was probably caught in some crossfire by two rival groups. Well, then we come to find out that police, it was a police fire, gunfire, that actually ended up killing her. So it is good to see that family get some semblance on the road to they're on the road to justice. We'll see what happens in the court. But
and I had also read that originally those who began the gunfire were originally charged with that murder, and then after ballistics came back, they found that it was actually the police's police gunfire that killed her.
Like I say, we'll see what happens, and we hope the best for that family, that they can find some sense of closure.
Just in the third grade. Unreal.
Yeah.
All right, still ahead on Fox Soul's Black Report, we'll tell you why Dan Snyder is being sued by DC's Attorney General.
Hey, look, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right here on Fox Soul.